In this video, we are going to talk about observing logs and record keeping for your stargazing and astronomy endeavours. So, let's have a think about why you might want to have an observing log, even if you're just going out and looking at the sky. First of all, and this is the most important, you can celebrate your successes. So it might be that you worked out how to spot a particular constellation for the first time, and there were one or two things that you looked for and then you spotted it, and now you want to make notes on what those little cheats or shortcuts were to get you there so that you can remember it for next time. You can also make a note of what didn't work to speed things up as well. So sometimes you will go somewhere and you think this is going to be really dark, and actually, it turns out every Tuesday there's a football match with floodlights on. So it's really rubbish for observing. Or maybe you get there and actually there's a house or a tree in the way of the bit of sky that you want to observe. So you know if you want to look at that particular constellation, then that location isn't going to work for you. Also, if you decide that you are enjoying your stargazing and astronomy and you want to break out your binoculars, get a telescope, maybe try some astrophotography, you do need to make a note of what settings and what you did to make various bits of equipment work. So it does end up being a little bit of a science experiment. However, it does speed things up if you know that you use this setting, this setting, and this setting when you are observing this target. It will save you so much time in the future. So, what should you consider recording? First of all, the obvious time, date, and location. I find it useful to make a note of the weather, the temperature, the cloud cover, and general conditions that affect what we call the seeing. So, good seeing is a nice clear sky. Bad seeing is where you've got lots of cloud or other disturbances that prevent you from seeing the sky. It might be that you notice certain locations, despite thinking that they should be nice and dark, actually, there may be things like the sea having lots of clouds and mist coming off it that cause a lot of issues that you hadn't thought about, and you've noticed a general pattern with that particular location. You also want to make a note of what worked for you. So, again, did particular star hopping work to find a particular constellation? Maybe now you've got one bit of sky that you know you can find the next thing along on a sky map or a star map, and you can start building up your knowledge around the bit that you're familiar with. So make a note of what's worked for you and how you can star hop to the next bit. You can also make a note of what didn't work. So I've mentioned before, maybe your location doesn't have as great a view as you expect. So there's a location near me with excellent south facing views. They are brilliant. However, there are really tall trees immediately behind me. So there are certain bits of equipment that I can't use as well because of that. I've mentioned as well before, maybe there are floodlights or security lights on certain nights. Maybe the location isn't as safe as you thought. So maybe you turn up and there are people hanging around there that you don't want to hang around with. So just make a note of those things as well, because it is useful to build up a picture. Something else you can do, which is really good fun, and if you get a telescope, you can really lean into this, is sketching. So you might want to make a record of your observations with sketches. So one really good way of learning constellations is to sketch out the stars that you can see and then compare them to the sky map that you've got, because that's going to give you an idea of which ones are more visible from your location. And it might be then that, again, as you learn more patches of sky, you then sort of sketch them in location to each other so you can see how you got there and draw little star hopping maps to help you. It might also be if you get a telescope or binoculars and a tripod to put them on, or some kind of mount, that you want to start sketching features that you can see. So it might be that you start noticing things like features on the moon and sketching those as well. And you can be as artistic as you like, or even do really basic diagrams. And some people like to do other artistic renderings as well. Some people will use their log to write down inspiration for poetry that they want to write, or maybe I'm a musician, so I sometimes get ideas for music based on what I see and when my thoughts wander. So I have a music notebook as well that I make notes in. All these are valid activities because your stargazing and astronomy sessions are for you and not for anyone else. So whatever you feel works is going to work for you. So finally, I really want you to take heart on the celebrate small steps and wins. It might sound really silly to you to celebrate finding a new constellation or a new star, but all these things are you gradually building on your knowledge and your familiarity with the sky. So, celebrating what you've just observed, sharing it with your friends, sharing your newfound knowledge. Maybe you found a particular star and you've researched about it and it's got something really interesting going on about it. So, for example, you can now spot the Orion Nebula, say you've worked out where that is, and you're really excited to tell everyone about what that nebula is and that it's a star forming region, it's a stellar nursery. That can be a really exciting thing to share with people because people think it's a star and it's not, it's so much more than that. So celebrate your wins, join communities that will celebrate with you, even the small steps, and don't take that for granted. All these little steps are steps getting you more confident and enjoying more of the night sky. So, what we've covered why you should have some kind of log or diary, the kind of observations that are useful, and finally, how to celebrate your progress.